Hi, this is Ed, and here you are in downtown San Diego. This is a picture that I took during this past Christmas time, evening, of course. That's the Embarcadero area of downtown, 92101. And many of those buildings in the front are condos, and then in the background are business. So that's the downtown. Just behind is and off to my no, that way is Little Italy, and just beyond there is San Diego Airport, and to the right, well, that way um, is Seaport Village, and it's this beautiful area. And where I live is just behind these buildings, 4 blocks in. It's called State Street. It's a good place. And we're going to be right back with an interesting talk show today. And I thank you for your kind interest to be here. See you in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Global TV Talk Show. So I'm here. This is a picture I took last Christmas time. That's downtown San Diego right behind me. And that's the Embarcadero. And yeah, I'll get out of the way here so you can see the big sailboat there is right in the middle. That's called the Star of India. And it doesn't sail much anymore because it's like 100 years old. So it's just there as a museum piece. It's part of the Maritime Museum that Joe and I are a member of. And so we hang out down there a lot. And that's where there's some good bars are right next door. So that's the real reason. Welcome. This is the launch of a new series. You know, it's just a continuation of what we've already been doing, but I'm branding the different subject matter to try to increase the audience on subject matter and go forward. It's all into one pot, of course, but by branding a weekly program. It could be for one person besides me, or it could be for 5 or 6 or more. I'm calling it Speakeasy because that's going back to Prohibition times. That was a cool name and sexy and attractive to a lot of people. So Speakeasy for this purpose is speak and then capital E dash Z. That'll be the brand. And the idea is, can you tell a story? Can you tell a story about your company, your brand, the brand culture, the activities that go on in the company, and can you express yourself very clearly and succinctly about how your brand has actually helped someone do good? Help the company achieve something in detail. So that's what we're going to drive to on this show. Could be about anything. But the idea is to practice public speaking in front of the camera and in a group setting and in a low stress, business friendly way. So Chris Exline, welcome. Join us. Chris Exline is in Ukraine, and this was live when he gets on. And I've asked him to talk about what's going on there right now, and to some extent he'll be able to talk about that. But this is tenuous time, as you know from the headlines, and so we need to be a little careful. So, Paul, thank you very much. The news today about uh, Paramount Global closing down
Yeah.
Paramount TV, but they're wrapping everything into CBS Studios TV, is what I read.
Yeah, me too. I worked there for about a little over 7 years, and then I went to Nickelodeon, the sister company. So I was with them for about a decade. But to see that happening just breaks my heart. Paramount, talk about brands. I mean, the company's been around 100 and probably 10 or 15 years. And
Yeah, good old Mr. Zucker.
You're right, Ed. And
Uh,
the funny thing is that, they were primarily always motion picture and television. And so for them to say now they're basically exiting the TV production business, they're moving everything off the lot in Hollywood, moving it over to the CBS studios. It's just a consolidation issue, I'm sure, but it brings with it about 2,000 layoffs. So
Wow.
again, it's really tough because people in the entertainment space, it's almost like when you're playing the game, where you walk around the table and when the music stops, you run in a chair and you get in a chair, whatever that game is called.
Musical
And
chairs.
musical
musical
chairs.
chair.
Thanks,
That's
Ken.
a
See, Ken bails me out. But the reality is, it's
Reise
hard.
nach Jerusalem in German, Paul.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
Interesting,
the
Christian.
journey to Jerusalem.
I didn't realize that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. And the funny thing is, though, it's like there's no more chairs at the table. So it's hard for people in that industry. And in Southern California, it's probably, historically the 800-pound gorilla. I mean, it was the
Yes.
biggest industry in Southern California. So Fox is now gone. They were kind of consumed by Disney. Paramount will probably be sold off in little pieces. Hopefully, they'll keep most of it together, but they'll start consolidating things under different brands. In this case, the CBS brand and the CBS sound stages. But it is really sad to see.
so a lot of money involved. It's huge.
Yeah, a lot of money, but it's not necessarily going north is the problem, that it's going south. What was happening, and I was there from, trying to think, 98 to 2008. So my decade there was now a while ago. But we can see it even then. After the turn of the new century, we were really looking at everything being swallowed up by the internet, and they couldn't figure out how to monetize those new streams. So even the Paramount Plus and these types of things, they're against such big competitors, even Paramount and CBS. When you're looking at Disney and you're looking at Netflix and these other monsters out there, it's really, really hard to find your footing. But again, there's a difference between the revenue and the profit. They have the revenue coming in, it's not necessarily translating into profit. And for that reason, they have to keep making headcount reductions and consolidating. And that's been the formula now for 20 years. I worked at Viacom for those 10 years. I was laid off in 2008. I went to NBC Universal. They were bought out by Comcast,
Comcast. Yeah.
got laid off there. I mean, I went to Time Warner Cable. I was there for about 3 years, and then they split off from Time Warner Inc., got laid off there. I mean, it's constantly, it's just been a fight. It's been a fight to stay in that business. It's been really hard. And so I had healthcare in my background. And in my last job, where I worked from 2017 to 2022, I moved more to a healthcare organization that was tied to the entertainment industry. But healthcare is where you have the job security. Entertainment, unfortunately, just isn't there anymore. So again, it's a little bit of a heartbreak. It was such a special place at the time that I worked there. And just to see this happening, yeah, sad.
No, thank you. Okay, this is Speakeasy, broadcast unit of Global Business News .net, and globalbusinessnews.net is like a holding company that I happen to own and operate totally. That means I have all the debts too. It's just not cash flow. So that's why my hand is out to everybody. It's buy an ad, become a sponsor, join the club, the Global Press Club, I'm calling it, and we'll play media. So Chris Exline, thank you so much for being on the program again. The latest pictures that you displayed in that story that I read this morning, earlier this morning, my morning, was really heartwarming. Do you have those pictures available to show on my screen share? Or if you don't want to do that, that's okay. You
Oh,
just talk
I
about
don't, I don't have a problem, but you saw that I had so many issues trying to sign on. I didn't
yeah,
know that
yeah.
I had to agree to it being recorded. So to action the audio. And so how do I've got the photos. How do I screen share them with you?
I'm not a tech, so I may be opening up a can of worms here.
There you
And
go.
so you can just describe, and then I'll publish them at another time.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
they're on my Facebook and LinkedIn page and things
yeah.
like that. I don't know how to, and I don't want to waste everybody's time with me having on the job training, learning how to, send photos of children. But it's been it's been extraordinary. You know, like the one that you saw this morning, where we had gone to a village where, you know, they've just been forgotten. Nobody ever goes there. And it's a hamlet of 100 people or hundreds of people. And you go in and you reach these people and you touch them at their place of need. And I'd say as a senior executive, you know, and I've been CEO of a company for, you know, over 30 years, you know, the ability to actually meet people, talk to them, and to show them that there are people that in the US or Hong Kong or Dubai or South Africa that actually care enough to donate a mattress. It's the expressions on their face. And you know, what it made me realize is that as a, you know, in my days, you know, you really lead a very incubated environment. You know, like our offices were on the, you know, we have floors of a building in downtown Hong Kong. You only deal with those people. You go to an airport lounge, you go to a plane, you're met by your own staff, you meet customers, but everything is basically, you and the customers you meet, you always meet high level customers. I mean, you don't, you know, really go into someone's home, and if you do, they're going to complain. And so, you don't really want to listen to, why they're upset about a lumpy sofa or something, or, but of course I love all my customers, for the record, since it's being recorded. But, it's just here, since I came here, I'm meeting, I know this sounds stupid, but I'm meeting real people, people with real lives, people that have been really impacted by loss, by fear, by destruction. I'd say that, while the children are amazing, last year when I was on the Russian border, delivering mattresses to, hundreds of elderly that weren't there because they wanted to be there, they just couldn't afford to go anywhere else. And it was one of the first cities that was overrun by the Russians in 2022. And, these people didn't even have mattresses. They're sleeping on the floor. And you see people that are so excited and so grateful about getting, there's no mentality of entitlement, to which is almost a trite expression in the United States today, and in Hong Kong, where I'm from. But, you understand what I'm saying. I mean, you're really meeting people at their place of need. And that's what made me change the entire corporate structure of what we're doing, is that, yeah, and Paul, I get what you're saying. I mean, thank God I don't have shareholders. I don't even have a board of directors, because I find that's annoying too. So, we don't have we don't have investors, we don't have shareholders, we don't have a board of directors. But I just was telling our people, what is all this stuff? What's all this profit? What's all this growth for growth's sake? Who in the F cares if we're the largest furniture rental company? We're here, we need to be able to give back. And so we need to have what we call, a railroad strategy, which is kind of a twist on the term. But our corporate train needs to be on two tracks. One, we have to make a profit. We have to have a business that's relevant to our customers. We have to, be here where there has to be a business reason for us being here, and we are making a profit, and we're also cash flow positive, which is a huge difference. But then also, we've got to give back. I mean, these people are suffering, mothers, wives, children, in this little town. We just passed 90 people that have died fighting the war, defending Ukraine's right to exist. We've got to be a corporate citizen. And even if people don't care, or I mean, I shouldn't say that, if no one joins us, it's still our responsibility to be a good corporate citizen. And, for me to be, at 60 years old, to be able to have kind of this new lease, it's been the most exhilarating. I hate to use that kind of word, but, it's been a blessing for me to be able to restructure our corporate perspective to make sure and ensure that giving back and being a good corporate citizen, being a part of our communities, is as important as the business offerings we have to our customers.
Thank you. You definitely are a communicator of the year, because you're spreading the good word about how an American business executive, a wealthy individual, educated at the best in the U.S., and you've been a
Do you
star
want me
for
to go?
25
Should I go
years.
put on? Should I go put on the shirt?
No, just
But
just the idea of this show, Speakeasy, is exactly what you just did, is to talk about how your brand has actually helped people. And
Well,
no, I'll never be able to top what you have done.
but it's not about that. And see, I tell everybody this, we're all on our own journey, and I'm extremely blessed that I have the ability to do this. I mean, remember, if I had shareholders, if I had debt, or if I had board of directors or all these other things, to tell them that I'm going to go to Ukraine and open up a business in a time of war without insurance, it would be very difficult. And also, I'm in a rare space that I can go to a place that's at war and not worry about cash flow, not worry about if we hit revenue targets, not worry about our profitability. So not everyone can do that. So you don't sit there and make myself above anybody else. So Ed, what you're doing tops what I'm doing all the time, and what everybody's doing tops what I'm doing all the time. I just tell my staff and my people two things. If I have a chance to make a difference, that's a chance I have to take. And by being here, I want my actions to be my statement. So, in a way of communicating, I believe that it's a more powerful communication tool by me being here and coming back here than just talking to people about what I want to do.
Ed, can I say something real quick? You don't mind?
Please. Yeah.
Chris, the stuff that you're doing blows me away. I just need to say that. When you look at society these days, the best and the brightest go to the best schools. And what they do is they come out and they go into the big 4 accounting firms or the big 3 management consulting firms, or they go into private equity. They go to Wall Street, whatever it happens to be. But they're not making the world a better place. And you are, my friend. It is just amazing to me that you took it upon yourself to build your business there in a time of need like no other we've seen in a very long time on this planet. And you're there and you're making the world different. And how many times we see people following tracks without really thinking through, I just need to make more money. I just need to have more power. When in reality, you set the tone for the rest of us. Really, if you want to make that kind of difference with your life, do what you're doing. So I beg to differ. I'm very humbled by your saying that we all make a big difference. On this call, my friend, you are making the biggest difference of all, and you are the role model for the rest of us. I just want to say
Not at all. It's a funny story is my alma mater. They actually had a lunch for me in May because they'd never seen someone from my school that had actually really given back in a material way, and so they kind of wanted to know what was going on, and also they, after I damn near destroyed the company, they said that they'd never really seen someone, because we've now come back, and they've never. And I said, well, one, no one would buy it. There were no strategic buyers. Two, no one would fire me. And you guys declined to have me come back and teach full time. So what else was I gonna do? No, but and thank you for that, Paul. But really, everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's got to follow their own leading. I'm also blessed. I have a different type of family life than most everybody else, but the support that I get from him in Hong Kong is absolutely unbelievable. And managing that, it's just, so who could leave their family unit, leave their friend unit? It's very unique. So it's not anything laudable. It's just my calling and my journey at this stage in my life. And that's, I really believe that with every fiber of my existence.
You're an American hero. And enough of this for now. Okay. Ken Lloyd, jump in here, please.
My feeling is that the message that Chris is presenting to us, and it is laudable. It's highly laudable, Chris. I'm thinking this would be wonderful to encapsulate in a book that's given to every MBA student across America, so that they can see, let's not just focus on bottom line and profit and how much money we can make and then how to get acquired and then double it and make more. That's all fine. That's good. It's growth. It contributes. But the other side is truly focusing on doing some good. My dad used to say, if you do good, you'll do well. And you're doing so much good, and you are doing well. And we're so glad to see that. Your message is so important. We sit here in awe of the wonders that you're doing and agree, because there is great satisfaction in helping other people. And we know that you sense that, and we all do. But to see the degree to which you're doing it is seriously, and you're shaking your head no, it's nothing less than remarkable and highly praiseworthy. So we salute you and we thank you for doing what you're doing, certainly in Ukraine. God knows they need your help. And it's just a wonderful step to be taking. And I'm so glad that we're so glad it's this fulfilling for you, as well as the many people that you're helping.
So, are you going to be invited back to Cambridge?
Massachusetts, yes. England,
Yes.
I've never been invited before.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is super cool. So, meet Eric, new customer here. Welcome. And thank you, Christian, for the intro. So, Eric, tell us about yourself. You're looking for a new investment now, is that it?
Investment or investment in job opportunities.
So, give our audience and and the others on the show a brief synopsis of how you've been living your life and your work in being an entrepreneur and investor.
Sure, sure. I would say I'm a little bit different from a majority of colleagues of my age. I kind of did my career backwards. I'll explain to you why. So first of all, I was trained as an architect in undergrad, and I also studied construction management for my graduate study, right? However, instead of going to a big architecture firm and get a sit-down desk job being an architect, I actually started my own real estate development company with a classmate of mine. And we started by buying properties and develop them in Los Angeles. So I did that for 10 years. And then I sold the company, sold the business in 2013, and then joined another tech company here in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley, who they focus on developing automated software and also modular components for hospital building, right? And then I start going to China, doing a lot of business development. And then throughout this experience, I started to really enjoy a very specific aspect of project is that how to use data, how to use operational intelligence and use computer model to improve the outcome of project delivery. And I'm actually speaking of what I call essential resources inside a healthcare project or inside a complex commercial project. The essential resources are typically spaces, your expensive equipment, your staffing, and your capital budget. So this is actually what I'm mostly focusing on now is how to help complex projects to optimize these essential resources in their development. So that's my brief story.
But you're not working for a consulting company either. You're working on hospitals, so there's definitely some good for the public.
I hope so. I hope so because because like I explained the real estate development experience, I was mostly in the healthcare facility area projects, and I come to realize that most of the healthcare facility that we see out there today, their spaces, their operation, they don't match. So you hear we complain about healthcare projects are so expensive into the billions. You hear that we have a shortage in medical staffing, the operational efficiency is low. You know what? A lot of it has to do with the wrong programming from day one. They just didn't get the space, they didn't get the medical equipment, they didn't get the staffing correctly. That's why the wrong mix, the wrong proportion makes the operation so difficult.
So
And
when you're
that's
talking about, let's just, if I can play dummy for a second, okay? So, which is easy, but you're talking about a structure, a building that houses operating room, surgical units, IC units, the equipment, the purification of the air system to keep a hospital disease free. Uh, I don't know if that's possible, but so you're talking about those things?
Yes. So you are correct because my background as a architect and builder, initially I focus on the building, but as I dig deeper into the problem, you start to realize the building in healthcare, especially, is tied to the operations. They are one and together. In healthcare, you cannot operate without the spaces or the equipment, right? So the moment you think about buildings, at the same time, you're actually also thinking about their physical operations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, you're saying it really clearly. I have to tell you, I've never thought about all that ever.
Yeah, healthcare is a very interesting industry that we always think that building is a separate issue, facility is a separate issue. But when you look at healthcare, you cannot operate without a proper space. You cannot operate without a proper equipment or staffing. That's why I said the operation and all those essential resources, they are just tight.
So let me just bring up down the street here, 1 mile from where I sit, is uh, medical center area of San Diego. And it's University of California, UC Health, okay, which is it's owned by the state, and it's like asset rich, billions in endowment. Money's not an object. So what they're doing is tearing down a 50-year-old, 60-year-old structure, which has had internal sections modernized. I happen to know, and I'll get to that in just a second about that. But they're going to tear it down and take down neighboring structures that the state owns or the hospital owns, and just knock all these buildings down in this area. Uh, that's called Hillcrest, and then they're going to rebuild this huge medical center, state of the art. So that is what you're saying. That is exactly what's going on right now down the street,
And and
or beginning to start to go on.
and
Yeah.
what I typically do, my aspiration is to help these gigantic projects to be on the right track on day one in terms of programming. When I say programming, I meant the program of the essential resources, the spaces, the equipment, the staffing, the budget.
So Joanne, who's my live-in partner and fiance for 27 years. We've each been married before and it didn't work, so we decided not to be legal. So we're living in sin for 27 years, and it's working. We're still together. Um, so, and talk about second halves. I met her when I was 52 years old, and that's 27 years ago, folks. So I know I don't look it or act it, but and I've been blessed because she's kept me young. So she suffered a major fall getting out of the car and downstairs in the garage. So we're in a condo complex here. Uh, so and a long time ago, I was an Army medic. I was trained as an OR tech by Harvard Medical School physicians. And we're in a unique unit. And I was trained to be an OR tech to the surgeons, sort of like a nurse, but in the OR. So anyway, she fell out of the car, and for some reason, her ankle shattered, and the bone spur broke through the skin, and blood was everywhere, and she was crying and screaming, and I said, "Holy shit!" So I took off her shirt and put her around the leg, tourniquet. All right, didn't stop it, but controlled it on the phone to 911. And San Diego Fire Department headquarters is 2.5 blocks from where we're living, thank God. And the fire engine, the rescue guys were there in like 5 minutes after I got off the phone. They came in, swooped her down. I explained what happened as far as I knew. There was no head damage, but just trauma. They put her in the ambulance and off she went to UC down the street, trauma center. And she was sedated, and a couple hours later into the first of 3 surgeries within 30 days. So the surgeon, I'll be real brief, happened to be a woman, and I won't divulge her name. She probably won't like that, but she told me after the second surgery that if they can't put all the ankle pieces together, they're going to have to amputate her foot. So she says, it's serious, but I'm going to try something with metal plates and things like that, if we can loop it together. It worked. And so they didn't need to do that. But she was laid up and in a wheelchair for 6 months until just before Christmas. She was a sales executive for Expedia in the region here. So I wheeled her in to the Christmas party, the industry Christmas party. Everybody was almost tear-provoking right now. So UC has all that equipment, and I don't know how it all worked. Erica, I'm not into all that, but it worked. And they pulled all the resources together and helped this lady, right? And now they're beginning to tear it down and rebuild, and with AI and super technology. So tell us more about what you want to do with all that experience. You would think that if it's not UC, then there's another organization that could use your help.
Uh, Technically speaking, let me say it this way, is food for thought. It takes about at least 10 years from the design to the completion of the project. So watch out those projects. It's probably going to be 10 years before it become operational. So this is what we say in our industry is that the healthcare facility, by the time it's operational, is already obsoleted.
Oh, wow.
Right? 10 years. I mean, think about how much technology can change, how much operations, when I say operation, like medical treatment procedures, the workflow can change in 10 years. Right? So the idea, what I want to do is how to minimize those gaps between the time you start planning versus the time you operate. And don't forget, the day you start operate is only the first day. The facility has to sit there for at least 50 years. And how does that facility and everything goes inside that facility can sustain a 50-year operation and still have the maximum efficiency, right? I'm not saying the doctors and nurses, they are not working hard. It's just that a lot of times what we don't know behind their scene, you can hear their complaint. There's the functional spaces is not correct. The equipment they're given is not correct. Maybe the software is not working right either. And I can even tell you in healthcare industry, one of the biggest problem they're facing right now, and nobody's talking about it, is their barcode system on their medical supplies and medications. In a hospital inventory system, they have to use something like, probably an exaggeration, probably a dozen different barcode scanner and computer software in order to keep track of all the inventory and medication that is coming in and out every day and tied to the billing system. So this maybe give you a little bit of idea why our healthcare system is so expensive. It's because it's so complex. And to answer your
Wish you well.
question, I'm hoping that, well, at least from my aspect, being an architect, or building expert, I really hope to help them to minimize the waste. Whatever I just described, the wasting efficiency or wasting space, wasting capital, let's minimize it by giving the right matches, the right balance to all these resources. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I heard all your words, and they're floating down on me. But
Oh
I don't
no,
know. I don't know if I'm digesting.
then I'm not doing a good job.
No. I'm a dummy. Ken, how's your book coming?
Can you mute?
Oh yeah, you're muted. Ken Lloyd, unmute. Talk about tech.
There he is. No.
There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
Okay, there you
all
are.
I had there was an hourglass, so the computer was taking its time and thinking about it, whether it really wanted me to unmute or not. Yeah, I used to consult in healthcare, and certainly from the layman side, looking at the integration of technology, architecture, and providing medical services that are actually current and state of the art. And I can see just what you're saying. By the time you really get the doors open, a lot has happened. Think about how much is going to happen with AI and medicine over the next 10 years. And it's just going to be a very, very different world. You see it in so many of these specialties, obviously not in the procedures, but even to some degree in that sense, but certainly in all of the management, the reviews, the analysis of records, scanning and reading x-rays and so forth. So it's just, I'm sure in the approach, you have to be extremely forward looking as you pursue these. But it's quite an integration. I think we all, as we look at our futures and the work that we're doing down the road, to project how are today's changes going to be impacting them, and how long will it take to bring our projects to fruition. And 10 years is really quite a spread. But even the projects that we're working on can sometimes fan out over years by the time we're really in shape and have it operational. It's a very interesting perspective and very informative and helpful, Eric, and we thank you for that.
So, Christian, one of your daughters, your youngest daughter, is interested in healthcare. Is that right?
No, fashion.
Oh,
None of them are
fashion.
interested in healthcare.
All right, I got a background. Okay. Well, tell us about her.
Okay. So my younger daughter, Angelica, is interested in fashion merchandising. She is going to be a sophomore in 2 weeks from now. And she's, ever since she was 2 years old, she was into bags. She would scoot around and just drag a bag behind her. And she's fascinated with purses. And this has just been kind of a lifelong 15 track also. And I just look at this group here, and I think it's fascinating how everybody is doing something really interesting, or several different interesting things at the same time in their field. And everybody seems to have found their calling or their vocation. Paul, you said how many times you were unemployed. I'm unemployed. As far as I know, Eric, you're still unemployed. And we're looking for the next opportunity. And of course, my daughters, both of them, are seeing this every day. I'm at home, and they're very much listening to what I'm talking about, or what I'm telling, what I'm sharing about who I'm meeting. And Natalie, my older one, was in a show with you, Ed, and with Ken. Enjoyed that very much. So it's interesting how we're all doing what we love or what we found. Of course, Chris, yours is the most extreme and the most laudable in my book as well.
So, are you entrepreneurial sufficiently to start from scratch and form a company with me or with Chris Exline or what?
I would form a company with a lot of people, because I'm that's a bit of the obstacle. I'm not very entrepreneurial, but I come to the realization that this is probably the best way forward for me right now. And listening to Eric, how he's already sold a company. Yeah, it's and I think every one of you, has at least one company. I'm kind of the odd man out here, so maybe just for that reason alone, I should start.
Well, here's Mark Colo, who's there with his brother and ostrich eggs and some,
Dodo.
somebody else. I can't see who that is. So, Mark, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's different each time we meet, so it's joys of Parkinson's, getting used to that. So, but all in all, I think I'm doing pretty good. Trying to plan a trip back to New York here, probably in the next couple of weeks or so. Take the family up there. My kids have never been to New York City, and I can't wait to show them and see their eyes light up with seeing some of these amazing attractions out there. So, and dodging the COVID, I'll be doing some dodging out there probably as well, trying to be kind of cautious as I walk around there. So,
Yeah, make sure you get that that vaccine as soon as it comes out.
yes, I'm gonna probably do that today.
The pharmacist that I deal with at CVS here said that it's not going to be available till after Labor Day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
We might just be up there before that, so I'll just have to be
yeah,
careful.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's going around. It hasn't hit us yet, but anyway, when you're in New York City, take time to take a boat cruise around Manhattan
A
Island.
boat cruise. So somebody told me that.
Yeah, it's great. And
Okay.
yeah, and but don't do it on a rainy day. You got to be up top on the top deck,
Yeah.
and look at the buildings. And,
I guess that holds true with the double-decker buses too, right? Those are kind of fun to ride on. So
yeah, yeah, but the boat cruise would be better.
I think we'll do. I'll plan on doing that. Yeah. Thank you for the tip.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. So, what's the name of that new develop Hudson Yards? Hudson Yards. So they the city, the investors, I don't know who they were, rich people for sure, because it's huge.
Yeah.
They built a whole new city on top of railroad tracks, and the railroad tracks were on top of the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel, which goes
Wow.
from Manhattan into New Jersey and vice versa. Uh, and that was really an eyesore. And then they built this whole new city on
Wow.
top, on a platform on top of all of that, and up
Amazing.
from there. And that's the location that I'm targeting for my next New York City meeting
Oh, good.
in November.
Good.
I'm in early negotiations with somebody to be my host sponsor.
What day in November, Ed?
November 21 is the day.
Okay.
Yeah, a week before Thanksgiving.
I'll try to find other shoes to
Yeah,
get up there.
yeah, yeah. So, um, so I thank you for being here, Mark. Meet Eric Shen and Ken Lloyd. I think you met before,
Yeah. He was our
and
last. Was he one of the
Nice to
last
see you,
one?
Mark.
Yeah,
yeah,
Kenny, good to see you again.
yeah. So Mark has been an executive in the household goods industry for many years. Is in retirement now, but he and I. So because of his affliction with Parkinson's, he has introduced me, and some of you already know this story, but for the sake of our new audience out there, he has introduced me to doctors and research scientists. And together we launched a medical TV talk show series, and we've done several. And we have the next one coming up on September 5. And Mark, why don't you tell our audience and the gentleman here about Jana Stoudemire and Axiom Space.
Oh, Jana, yeah, she's a sweetheart, bright woman. She's out hitting the pavement trying to get the word out about their space station that they have, and they're developing out in somewhere in space. I don't know, I don't know exactly where that is, Ed, but it's somewhere up there. So, but she's very bright. She's got background in years and years of study about what this discipline is they're trying to come up with, which is testing, doing earthly tests that you normally would do on the Earth here in outer space. And the exciting thing about it is it takes the whole element of gravity out of the picture, completely out. So I guess they can get pure results, pure numbers and statistics that they're looking for. It seems to be a more effective way to do their testing.
So what we're talking about is brain surgery and neuro molecules or whatever. Dr. Howard Fedoroff is going to be our special guest, and he's leading the charge into that kind of thing. And I've invited Dr. Paula Crisanti, who's CEO of the National Stem Cell Foundation, to also join us, but haven't heard back from her yet. So Axiom Space, which is Houston, is based at the Houston Space Center, south of Houston, and Jana is La Jolla, San Diego, down the street here, and she's a vice president, and the company Axiom is building a space station to replace the old one that's up there now, that those two astronauts are stuck on, I guess, for some reason right now. But the new space station is scheduled to be launched sometime during 2025.
Yeah.
And they're going to have, and so they're selling space on it, almost like a condo thing. And so they're doing the medical research, brain research, because as Dr. Howard Fedoroff explained the last time he was on our program, the immune systems, even in the brain, not to mention the body, fight off the help. In addition to fighting off disease, they fight off inbound injections because they don't know that it's good for the patient. And so that has to go through this whole process, and I can't describe it. But Jana could. Jana will describe it.
What it does is the human body has a way of determining if something is good or not. Not always completely accurate, but it can tell if something foreign substance goes into the body. Oh, this is not part of what it should be in here. So we're gonna eradicate it, get rid of it. It's just like when I take my meds. I take meds about 6 or 7 times a day, and I got a little alarm goes off, reminds me to take my pills. And I do that, and probably less than maybe 10, 15 minutes, maybe a half an hour at the most, my body starts to shake. It starts to get more convulsive. My body is trying to fight this foreign substance and get rid of it. When of course it's meant to be good for you and help you heal and improve it. But that's just the way the human body works. So it's kind of really, it doesn't make sense, but the body thinks it knows what it's doing.
So Eric, does this kind of medical research figure into what you used to do?
Probably less so, because what Mark is talking about is more directly to the treatment, the clinical aspect, whereas, like you did point it out, is more related to the physical spaces, the physical environment.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm running out of questions. Paul,
well, the thing
you
about
must have a
Howard,
question.
I'll ad lib a little bit here for you, but the thing about Howard is that you really got to, if you haven't met him yet, you should make the time to meet him. He's a brilliant, brilliant man. He graduated from Albert Einstein University in New York City, and I couldn't qualify to get in there. I'm certain of that. But his right-hand man, that I relocated from Georgetown University out here to UC Irvine in Southern California. His right-hand man is named Massimo Fiandaca, and they worked together for many years on different projects trying to find cures. And I asked him one time, Massimo, his short, he goes by Mass. I said, Mass, how smart is Howard? Because he'd worked with him for years and years. And he didn't hesitate. He just said, you know, Mark, Howard is the most brilliant man I've ever spoken to. And that says a lot coming from a 25-year veteran in neurosurgery. That's what Mass did for most of his career. So just to listen to him talk, I mean, I get about maybe 5% of it. The rest of it just goes right over my head. But brilliant, brilliant man. So,
So
but the thing he's doing now, Ed, which is exciting, is he's starting, I think it's his third or fourth startup company to find
it's yeah,
a cure.
bio something, right?
Kentai Therapeutics. It's
Yeah,
Kentai.
yeah.
And it's a group of VC, venture capitalists, who are committed to finding cures and finding new drugs and new uh, things for the medical field. And Howard's come up with a way, he thinks he's come up with a solution to providing, it's practically providing over the counter. He wants to get it to the point where it's almost over the counter accessible, where he's got it all approved. He's got it working, approved by the FDA. He's doing everything he needs to get it in a clinical environment, and then to start doing some testing with some of these things, these products, with people that actually have Parkinson's and Alzheimer's.
Marcolo, about a year and a half ago or so, 2 years back on the medical TV talk show, you introduced me to the woman who was recognized by the French government with the Chevalier. And I can't remember her name right now, but you know her and you knew her husband.
I did. I knew her husband
Yeah.
Pablo very well, and I'm trying to remember. She has an Italian name. She's Italian, and I'm trying to remember what her last. I haven't seen her in years. I need to
Yeah,
get back.
it's not Botticelli, it's Botta something. I'll find the program and I'll send it around because
Yeah,
it's
and what's
fascinating.
interesting about her, when I met her, um, Paolo Corsi, he was a gentleman that literally came up with the circadian rhythm, which is this. Many of you who are familiar with medicine will know what that means. But it's kind of what's the optimal time for you to do things, what time to eat, what times you go to bed at night, how long should you sleep. And it's all specific to each one of us. We're different. It's different for everyone. And he came up with that, and he said that he believed, and he proved it. He believed that all the organs in our bodies, that they are interconnected and they work with one another. Prior to that theory he had, and prior to proving that, it was basically everything was disconnected. So every organ in your body just functioned by itself on its own. And he proved it was just the opposite. He proved that no, they're all connected. So Estee Lauder, big cosmetic company, they funded him to make this movie. He and two other professors from two other universities, and they made this movie, and it's just brilliant. Maybe I'll send out a link for it. I think you can find it on YouTube, but it's worth watching because he goes through all what they thought about, how they came up with the hypothesis, how they proved it, and it's pretty amazing.
Now, why did Estee Lauder do that? Because that has something to do with skin
Skin,
care?
health of skin, healthy skin. Exactly. That's the way they moved into, so they can say that they've got that whatever that mechanism is as part of their makeup. When you get the different makeups they produce. I don't know. But he. Long story short, he and Estee Lauder are really close. They're just close to each other, and they do a lot of work together.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So, Paul Falcone, what can you tell aspiring authors about authoring? You do it. I mean, talk about circadian rhythm. There must be a circadian rhythm for you to publish so many books.
Yeah, I don't sleep. There's my circadian. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but Ken and I know each other through the publishing space too. And Ed, there's so much out there. There's always been historically the 5 big publishing houses, and now there's a 6th with Amazon. Amazon's volume of publishing self-published books now competes with the biggest that are out there. So, you know, it all depends what people want to do. Most people that I've come across in business want to quote unquote write a book to help their business have a greater level of legitimacy. If that's really what your goal is and you want to put together your strategies of how you do your business, I think self-publishing makes a lot of sense. I was just really fortunate. For me, when I started writing in the 90s, in the mid 90s, I stumbled across the American Management Association and I published several articles with their magazine, knowing that they had a book publishing sister division. And I asked my contact, could you pitch a book idea? And that worked. And I never looked back. So number 17 just came out in May. The AMA's book publishing division was called Amacom Books. In 2018, it was purchased by HarperCollins. HarperCollins made a new imprint called HarperCollins Leadership. So I've now written 7 books for them. So it's 10 with the AMA, 7 with HarperCollins. And to me, I was just kind of lucky, to tell you the truth. I don't sit back and say, oh, I had this strategy. But I will tell you this, where I did start my research was with a book called Writer's Market. And Writer's Market is still the go-to book in the space. You can pick it up at Barnes & Noble, you get an online copy on Amazon, whatever you want to do. It's not expensive. I'd say $30 or something. But it takes you through all the different genres. And it'll say, if you want to write a book on cookbooks, here are all your publishers. Here's what they're going to want to see: a query letter, a sample chapter, a blah, blah, blah. And then if you want to write on business, or you want to write on fiction, or you want to write in poetry, that kind of book is very, very helpful. And also gives you contact information. And I think that book has stood the test of time, because anyone who's serious about writing a book, that's really the first place to go, because you get contact information, you understand what the whole game is. And that was really their goal, was to give you the 30,000-foot view of what goes on and to get into the publishing space, but also to get into the weeds in terms of, here are the different publishers, here are the contacts, here's what they're looking for. So for anyone who really wants to do that, Ed, whether you go self-publishing or not, get that book just to educate yourself on the industry. And Ken, I don't know if you feel differently than that, but that's always my recommended resource for anyone who's interested in learning more about publishing something.
Ken?
Yeah, totally agree. I think the other factor to keep in mind is if you want to write a book, you should truly enjoy writing. I just find it to be, it's a hobby, it's a pastime. I'm not much at home repairs. Our garden is horrible, but I do enjoy writing. And I'll write anything. And when I was back in high school, my sister used to say, you have a magic typewriter. And that's how long ago this was, but almost like a Ouija board. And I like to see what comes out. I think the blank page is just, that's fine. And now it's a blank screen. And right, I have a lot of stuff I've written that hasn't gone anywhere, but I've written for all sorts of stuff, hobby type writing. I mean, years ago, I had sold television stories. I had written some and sold game show questions. I will write whatever, and certainly research my doctoral dissertation back at UCLA, and even at the same time doing other writing, and then started doing business books like Paul back in the 90s. Newest one coming out in December, another Dummies book. It's an update of my Dummies book on performance appraisals. And I enjoy writing it. And I think the big complaint is that you're kind of overwriting this. Peel back a bit. You don't have to say quite that much. I like to be thorough and cover all the bases. But it's a great hobby, as well as at this point in my career, something I'm focused on even more heavily, although I would do it well. As Paul said, we don't sleep. You know, you start writing. I can get an idea in the middle of the night, literally, and get up and start working with it. But it's fun. I enjoy it, again, because it happens to be one of my hobbies.
Chris?
No, I'm kind of just amazed at people that can, memorialize, codify thoughts and clear strategies in a way that people can understand them and use them. So, I think being an author is phenomenal. And I think, it's kind of like what Paul was saying. I think it's always kind of a dream to write something, because it's just so damn hard to do so. I think all of us are of the same age. We actually have a link with Jack Nicholson, and As Good as It Gets, as he's sitting there writing, and forced out of his shell. But I mean, you can see that he's Melvin Udall, I think was his name, and what is it in the classic scene? He's at the publisher's house, and she the receptionist says, "How do you know women so well?" And you start with the man and take away accountability and reason, and probably not the best thing. Again, I forgot this is being recorded, so but yeah, but to recover on that, I mean, I just think it's fantastic that people can sit there and take all of these complex ideas, all of these different things, and weave them together into a book. And so yeah, so I look forward to hearing about the name of the book that's coming out in December, and I look forward to after this call getting Paul's book on Amazon, and getting to learn a little bit more about what's going on in that field, because the art of reading books, I think, is one of the things that's been lost in the past 10 years. It used to be such an important part of who we were, and I think that's being lost by media or smartphones and things like that. But yeah.
Paul, your book, hot selling book, First Time Manager. Did you write that for Gen Z in management?
In a way, Ed, yeah, it really is written for either people who are new to management, people who've been in management for a while but want to go back to the foundations and make sure they didn't miss anything, or what I call like the high potentials emerging leaders who want to get into management. So it kind of fits everything right around that baseline. When you think of the pyramid, that bottom baseline is where most of the reader's eyeballs are going to be. And that's kind of what I've always written for. That made most sense to me. And Chris, to your point, I appreciate how you've said that. I always say, if you're looking to kind of like get back into your circadian rhythm, just pick up one of my books. You'll be asleep so fast at night, you won't know it hit you. No, I'm kidding. But the reality, Ed, to your point is, yeah, Ken, like you, I could wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with an idea, and that's it. I'm up for the night, and I'm writing just on that idea. I'm not handy. I don't do gardening, but I love to write. It's my hobby, and it's something that allows this creative thing to come out. But the reality is, not everybody enjoys writing. My wife is like, I'd rather stick needles in my eye. It takes me back to high school. I don't want to do it if I don't have to. And that's okay too. So to your point, Ken, I would, be true to yourself. If it's something you really enjoy doing, that makes sense. If you only want to write one to kind of highlight your business strategy and get it self-published, that's fine too, because it's a limited exercise. But for me, like you, Ken, it's a hobby, and I just have fun doing it. It's a very creative way to express myself and my ideas. So
As we come to a close, Christian, take over.
Well, I had a question for Chris. Chris, you just said that you couldn't imagine writing a book, but you must have written business plans and detailed sets of instructions for your executives and to figure out where the company was going to go. You said that it was a challenge. It seemed to be a challenge to you to write very clearly. You must have done that. So I think you're underselling yourself here.
Well, I'm not a best-selling author. I will confess
Oh,
that some of
okay.
the business plans that I've written are just absolute tours de force. I mean, they are just masterful pieces of work. I'm joking. But what I will say is, as a leader of a multinational company, you do learn how to be very clear, because once the difference is when you press send, it's gone. I mean, that email's out there, and that's the communication. And how people will interpret it, people in India or Egypt or Singapore or Spain, they all interpret it differently. And so when you're trying to communicate a vision of where we're going, and when you're trying to lead a company, especially through crisis, I mean, when we were growing at 100% a year, I mean, my gosh, you could do no wrong, and anything I said was just, it's not gospel, but because of those books are in a totally different place. But but when my company collapsed, and when we crashed, and you're trying to take over the remnants and lead people through that crisis, then clarity and vision is extremely important. And so, Christian, what I'm saying is, Christian, we've all been there. And I don't think we can go back to the heights unless we've actually had some of those experiences. And, and there were days in July 2010 that my CFO and we didn't know if the lights, if we would, when we turned off the lights at night, if we'd turn them back on in the morning, it was that dire. And, and that's one of the things that kind of shocked my alma mater is there's like, how did you stay around to bring the company back? That's what I was saying. Well, no one could fire me and no one would buy it. So it was like, and some of those assholes that were classmates of mine in private equity, in investment banking, in consulting, that offered me things for brand equity to help me out. I had some choice words that probably aren't being printed anywhere except The Economist and the Financial Times these days. So listen, what I love about this, Ed, and thank you for bringing all these people together, because it really is a collaborative group of people that bring different insights and different skill sets into something that can kind of be not only encouraging but beneficial to everyone concerned.
Well, my dream for Speakeasy has been realized. And so thank you all for being on the program. And please come back and do it again. I'm going to try to do this show in some form or another once a week. And I will keep you informed. I may take a week off here and there, but even if it's only one other person plus me, then in that case, it'll be a really quick show.
Hey, Ed,
Yes, Mark.
I want to add one thing. If you go down to the chat, down there at the bottom, you click on the chat, you'll find I put a link. It says 11, and that's in parentheses post, and then has a up and down line, and then LinkedIn. If you click on that, it'll take you onto my LinkedIn. And I put months ago, I put down that actual video by Paulo that he made with Estee Lauder. So you'll read that. If you read down about the 4th or 5th paragraph down, you'll see another link. And if you click on that link, that will pull up the actual film that he made with Estee Lauder. It's probably, I think it's maybe 20 or 30 minutes long. So it is a sit and watch. But brilliant man. He lived down in Laguna Beach. He used to swim every morning out in the ocean. Surprised he never got attacked by a shark, but he loved swimming in the ocean, and just a bright, brilliant man. And his wife, Emiliana. Emiliana
Oh,
was
yeah,
a
that's it,
member
Emiliana. Yeah.
Borghese, I think it is. Emiliana Borghese. And she literally worked in the same building as he did at UC Irvine. Largest building on campus. It's their neurological building, and he's on the top floor. He's got the biggest office on the whole floor, and everyone knew Paulo. They all knew and loved him. So it was a big loss when he had a heart attack in his bed at night. Just went like nothing. Went instantly. So he didn't have to suffer, which is good.
So tomorrow we have a program that I'm launching. We've done several of these with authors, as Paul knows, of course, and as Ken and others know, and our friend Stephen and Ali. It's called Book Report. Duh. But that's going to be the name of a talk show. And so if you want to come back tomorrow, it starts at 9 a.m. California time. Book Report. And we're going to just focus in on a book of the week or more than one.
Sounds fun.
So anyone who wants to learn how to write a book, I'm sure our friend Stephen will sell you an idea and make it all work. And Paul, if you want to chime in, and Ken, that's great. So I thank you so much for being on Speakeasy, and that's exactly what we experienced here. Easy speaking. Ciao.
Thanks,
Thank you
back to
all.
you.
Thanks,
Take care,
Ed. Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
all.
Thank you.